At Bedrosian, we aim to align the goals of academics and practitioners, to make clear what good government looks like, to work to foster effective governance and spread good ideas, and ultimately, to work to make sure that government implements good policy.
How did I even end up as the White House press secretary? Because I get that question a lot, and honestly, if you looked back at my upbringing, you would never pick me out of a lineup and said, oh, she'll be the White House press secretary one day. Tony Snow called me into his office one day, not too long after he'd been there, and he said, sorry to ask you this, but Dana, you're gonna have to step up and be the White House press secretary for about 3 weeks. And there's very few times in your life where you don't have an opportunity to say no, but literally there was no one else in the government that could do that job because I was the only deputy at the time. Working in public communication, public policy communication really suited me right down to the ground. That was just exactly what I wanted to do. There's a lot of showmanship that does enter into politics, and some people are suited for that. Other people are policy wonks. Other people are like me, and I like the communications and explaining policy. I never thought of myself as a spokesperson for the Republican Party. Absolutely not. I was a spokesperson for the United States of America. And there is dignity and grace that comes to that position, and it is so important to keep that in mind because you're working to not only defend the President of the United States and advocate his policies or hers in the future, you are also responsible for protecting the access of the press to the government. But I also would make sure that I had good relationships with the press. We were personal friends. I was aware that they had a story to turn in every day. These aren't necessarily people you're going to invite to Christmas dinner, but I never think of the press as an enemy. Having that kind of relationship with the press, that they would protect you personally, is something that we should all strive to do. One of the things I think that helped me so much eventually in my career was that I had this experience with a dominant male figure early on in my life. Yes, it was my father, but still, to express your opinion confidently and to have a safe place to think things through. President Bush set an important tone. So if you're in a position of leadership, or if you're an elected leader, or if you're going to be a communications person that needs to work with a principal, you have to ensure total trust and loyalty between the two of you. In particular, I have one memory where he asked me my opinion about something, and I had an opinion that was different from the consensus, and he looked at me and he said, "She's right." And I thought about how much confidence that actually takes for somebody to say to the President of the United States of America, "You're wrong, and you should change course," and to have that validation for him to say, "She's right." It is an all-consuming job, but there were ways that I learned to be innovative and creative. The second thing is make sure you have that access to the principal and his total confidence, his or her total confidence, to make sure that your calls are returned first and that you are supported in that role. And the third thing is to remember that reporters have a job to do as well.
Implementing good policy. That's the way we move forward together and prosper. We're all in this together.